This is Renelle, and welcome to Quality Hang with Rod Brooks and friends. And here he is now, your host, my main man, Rod Brooks.
Thank you very much, Renelle. I am Rod Brooks, and welcome everyone to Quality Hang. And as always, I'm joined on this broadcasting adventure by my partner in crime, my friend, the co-host of Quality Hang. He is Marcus Osborne. What up, dog?
What's happening, man? It's a good Monday. Lots of good stuff happening.
Yeah,
and
man.
you are going to be the first person to share with me some news about your San Francisco Giants.
Yeah, we'll get into the Giants and their managerial search that may be coming to a close, a surprising close, considering who they have their sights set on, and this person's, let's say, relative lack of experience when it comes to Major League Baseball. Before we get into all of that, some quick breaking news. The World Series matchup is set. The Los Angeles Dodgers will see the Toronto Blue Jays in the Fall Classic. A dramatic home run by former Houston Astro George Springer of the Toronto Blue Jays hit a 3-run home run to give the Blue Jays the lead over the Mariners, who are still without a World Series appearance since bursting on the scene back in the late 70s. So the Mariners were able to get it to a Game 7, but unable to get it across the finish line as the Blue Jays won Game 7 of the ALCS at home in Toronto in fairly dramatic fashion, beating the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners to not go to the World Series?
Yeah.
Boy, that's a really good question. The Rangers went to and won the World Series a couple of years ago.
I can't think of
the Padres.
The
Nationals went to and won the World Series. I remember that.
Right.
Okay. The Padres have been to the World Series. Has Tampa been to the World Series?
Yeah, they lost to the Dodgers, remember?
Oh, in the COVID year. That's right.
Yeah.
In 2020. Well, who remembers that?
Wait a minute. I think they
won a real championship. That's the only time I can remember. And the Marlins have been to and won the World Championship. The Diamondbacks have been to the World Series. So as I go through my mental Rolodex, yes, the Mariners are the one last team.
Ooh.
Have the Rockies been to the World Series?
No, I don't think they have.
Okay, all right, there you go. I knew I'd get to one eventually. The Rockies and the Mariners have not gotten to the World Series, so I'm going through all the teams, and I think that may be it.
That sucks.
The Mariners had it, but an absolute meatball was served up to George Springer, and he deposited that bad boy into the bleachers of, I still call it the Sky Dome, even though it's called the Rogers Center. And the Blue Jays on the way to the World Series to more than likely get demolished by the Dodgers, but we'll get into that as the week goes on. Before we get into the show, as always, we thank our presenting sponsor, the fine folks at Hop Monk Taverns. 3 locations to choose from: Sonoma, Sebastopol, and in Novato. And at all 3 locations, they all do the same fantastic, wonderful things, and that is give you great food from a diverse menu, a fantastic craft beer selection that even a beer snob could love, and a live entertainment menu that is just as diverse and just as awesome as their food menus. So check them out online to see what they have coming up live entertainment-wise, to see what the hours are, or any other information you may need. Definitely follow them on all the socials. But Hop Monk Taverns, we are so proud to have them as our presenting sponsor here on Quality Hang. Let us get into it. Let's get this party started. One quick programming note. Our good friend Matt Kolsky will join us in just a few minutes to talk about the Warriors as they will get started along with the rest of the NBA tomorrow night. So a little Warriors preview with our good friend Matt Kolsky coming up here in just a little bit. But Marcus, let's start with the San Francisco 49ers, who, not a surprise to me, we talked about it over the course of last week. I thought that the Niners would be able to beat the Falcons on the strength of the Niners run game, especially when we got the news that George Kittle was coming back, and the Falcons being a good team, but being a young team, coming off that emotional win last week against the Bills. A short week, not a very good matchup in terms of the Falcons. Number one overall defense, but they were not good at stopping the run. They were giving up 114 yards. The Falcons were on the ground, and that was before they lost their very good edge-setting rookie, Jalen Walker. Once they lost him, and then George Kittle was on track to be back, I just knew that the Niners are going to be able to run the ball on them. How the Niners did defensively, that might have come as a surprise to a lot.
That was a big surprise. I expected there to be more of a track meet.
Yeah, and the Niners defense, for all intents and purposes, shut down a high-powered Falcons offense and kept Bijan Robinson in check. But first things first, man, George Kittle's return to the Niners meant absolutely everything, because George Kittle gets hurt in the Seattle game, right? As the last game, the Niners had 100 yards on the ground total as a team. After that, for 5 weeks, the Niners couldn't do anything on the ground. They couldn't run outside. They were 30th in the league in running outside the tackles. They couldn't run inside. The Niners, 16% of the Niner runs got stopped for a loss or at the line of scrimmage. And Christian McCaffrey, when I saw this, I was absolutely blown away. Christian McCaffrey, before last night, was averaging 0.81 yards. Even that's not, he was averaging less than a yard before initial contact. And a lot of people were saying, because McCaffrey's older, McCaffrey's had an injury history, and because of the lack of a Niner running game, Christian McCaffrey is washed. Then all of a sudden, you get to last night, George Kittle is back, and all of a sudden, that Niner run game is completely and totally different. Kittle on the field last night, 28 carries, 151 yards for the Niner rushing attack, 2 touchdowns, averaging 1.4 yards before contact. Again, McCaffrey was getting hit with less than a yard after getting the ball on a rush before he was getting contact. And then you see here in this graphic, we're showing Kittle when he was off the field, 6 carries, 12 yards. Niner plays were getting stuffed behind the line of scrimmage. George Kittle didn't catch a pass last night, but George Kittle was the most impactful player on that team that didn't actually have to carry the ball or didn't catch the ball. It was amazing to watch that happen last night.
Yeah, I think the 49ers didn't surprise me. Well, the defensively, they surprised me a little bit. But I was more surprised with the play calling of the Falcons. I'm stunned that they didn't try to get the ball to Bijan more. To me, it was illogical. Why wouldn't you be trying to get this guy the ball 25 times? And then this is where what you talked about, the youth showed in their quarterback. I mean, that fourth quarter, some really, really bad quarterbacking. Some just standing back there. Nothing drives me crazier than quarterbacks who stand back there and hold the ball like they've got all day. And I'm like, what is this dude doing?
Because Robert Saleh was heating him up. You didn't have all day.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, somebody should have figured this out or get into this quarterback's ear and say, you got to let it go or you got to get out. And those two things really surprised me on the part of the Falcons. But, when you're playing a veteran team with the kind of coaching that the San Francisco 49ers have, you are never going to be in a position to beat that team. You're never going to you're never going to outcoach them.
Yeah.
Unless you're an Andy Reid, you're not outcoaching the San Francisco 49ers.
You saw George Kittle at his best, which means you saw Christian McCaffrey at his best, which means you saw the Niner running game at its best, and you saw Kyle Shanahan coaching the type of offensive football he likes to coach. He was fine with throwing the ball with Mac Jones without having a run game because that was the way that they were winning. No coach is ever going to say, I don't want to do that and not do it. But that's not who Kyle Shanahan is. Kyle Shanahan is a guy, and he said this after the game where he challenged the Niners. And listen, he could see the same thing I and other people saw, that the Falcons were not a good team because they're not really big and heavy in the middle. Like, take, for example, what you have in Tampa with Vita Vea, where you just simply cannot run up the middle. And he completely and totally just wrecked the Niners' interior offensive line. The Niners' interior offensive line, along with George Kittle being in the mix, they had the size, they had the push to handle a fairly light, relatively speaking, Falcons interior defensive line. So once that was established, that with Kittle back, the Niners could to run outside with that outside zone, and then they could run inside. It was basically a wrap from that point. The Niners had control of the game. And we'll get to Saleh in a second, because I think he had a lot to do with how Michael Penix looked last night, how Bijan Robinson was, in essence, taken out of the game at critical times. But watching the Falcons over the last 2 weeks, one thing I noticed, and I was surprised they didn't at least try this with the Niners. The Falcons, their pass game is, we're going to get guys outside, London and Pitts, who are big and strong and fast, and they're going to try to throw to the boundaries, and they're just going to try not necessarily go routes, but they got guys on the outside. They're just going to run. Penix, statuesque, big arm. He's just going to try to get the ball to them and win over the top. They don't do a lot of in-breaking routes, the Falcons. And it surprised me that the Falcons didn't try to do something in the middle of the field with their wide receivers and with Kyle Pitts, their tight end, because of the Niners not having Fred Warner. And because Dre Greenlaw in pass coverage over the last 3 games has given up over 150 yards and I believe 18 or 20 catches. I forget exactly. I have to get my notes from the game yesterday. For the Falcons to not try anything in the middle of the field with their wide receivers. They threw the ball to Bijan Robinson, which is what they were supposed to do. And it worked. But for the Falcons to not test the Niner defense in the middle of the field, I thought was odd. And to me, that played right into Robert Saleh's hands, because as wildly as important as Kittle was for the Niners offensively, Robert Saleh last night is worth his weight in gold. Whatever he's being paid, he's absolutely underpaid, because the defense that he called, how he was double teaming Drake London after a while, the blitzes he was sending at Michael Penix, when he was sending those blitzes, understanding that Michael Penix is not as good against man coverage as he is against zone. So sending those blitzes, playing zone on the back and trusting those young players. Robert Saleh last night was absolutely unbelievable. And Niner fans, many of you watching, listening, I'm going to say this and you're going to absolutely agree with me. The Niners would have lost that game last night. They would have lost it last season because Nick Sorensen would have tried to play conservative, and he would have tried to protect on the back end and maybe try to protect in the middle if the Falcons would have desired to do that. And he would have just said, I'm not going to play man. I'm going to play zone. And that's exactly what Michael Penix would have want. For Robert Saleh to have the mindset of, nope, I'm going to be aggressive and I'm going to trust all these young players, starting with Tatum Bethune. I thought that was absolute defensive play calling genius, quite frankly.
It was just so weird that it seemed like the Falcons were like, this is our plan and we're going to stick to it.
Yeah.
And like, that's crazy. You're getting spanked. I mean, admittedly, the game was close. And so I guess I kind of understand them sticking to the game plan because the defense was keeping them in it. But like you said, they didn't work the middle at all, which is weird because if you're getting blitzed, you would think that you would have somebody
get it out.
And that's when I'm like, wait a minute, why are we still calling these long plays when you know for a fact that you're getting heat?
Yeah.
And there were plays where it was the blitz was obvious, and he would still go back there and just hang on to it and hang on. I'm like, nobody's talking to these guys.
There was a certain amount of stubbornness. With the Falcons' game plan.
Yeah.
I thought was. I think they thought, and this goes back to what I was saying last week. I think they thought shit was sweet, and they thought this young Falcons talented team thought that they were going to be able to not necessarily push over or not necessarily intimidate the Niners.
Yeah.
But I think they thought because of all of the Niners injuries, 14 of a possible 22 starters not playing, all of the Niner injuries, that eventually the Niners would crack. And what they didn't plan on clearly was Tatum Bethune and Chase Lucas and Bryce Huff and those other guys sort of carrying the load and leading by example. They didn't bet on that. They didn't bet on Saleh being aggressive with the blitzes. And for whatever reason, they didn't bet on the Niners being able to run the ball and control the game like they did. And because they lost in all three of those phases, for lack of a better way of putting it, it just seemed like the Falcons had no answer or no counter when their initial plan or initial plans were thwarted. Dig what I'm saying?
Stubborn.
Yeah. Unnecessarily stubborn too. But I think that's a hallmark of a young team that is just not used to swimming in those waters of expectation.
Well, but the other question is why, which is what happens with young players. But the problem that I had with that whole thing was the coaching.
Yeah.
Why aren't you guys going out there and listen? We getting our heads knocked in. We're not scoring points.
Yeah.
We can't hold this. We can't hold this line forever. Why aren't we trying to mix this thing up? And it's just weird to me that they didn't even try to change anything.
But when I say young team, I'm not just talking about the players. Yes, the players are the youngsters of the group. And Raheem Morris, who I think is a good coach.
I like Raheem Morris a lot.
But he's young in the game. Jeff Ulbrich, one of my favorite people. Like, just not from a football standpoint, Jeff Ulbrich is one of my favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Ulbrich is a very good defensive coordinator, but I think he's still kind of young in that game.
Raheem Morris has no excuse. This is not his first rodeo.
No. I understand that, but I think that was sort of a teachable moment for Morris and Ulbrich that you have these young players, these young talented players. You can't be afraid to mix it up a little bit and do something different, like Robert Saleh.
Maybe that was the problem, that they were afraid to change it up because the guys are young.
Well, hey, listen, if you're scared, get a dog, right?
Yeah.
Because if Robert Saleh decides, I don't want to blitz because that might leave me vulnerable on the back end with these young guys, okay, then it's a completely different ball game last night. I mean, at some point in time, listen, to quote the Ghetto Boys, sometimes you gotta let your nuts hang, dog.
Yep.
I mean,
facts.
You either about that life or you not, And what we clearly know about Robert Saleh, just to stay with him specifically, and I think the entire Niner get down, especially this year, where they've established that they are a gritty team.
Yes.
That hey man, this is who we are. We're here, and we're not going to play scared. And I think what last night says, everything I just mentioned about Saleh is that he's not going to play scared, even if he doesn't have his top line guys, Warner and Bosa.
He can't.
And he's not going to have Bryce Huff for a couple of weeks, but we'll talk about that in just a second. We'll get to the bad news in just a second. But I think with the Niners, with that defense, with Saleh leading it, they ain't scared. And the Niner offense with George Kittle coming back. Offensively now, they can play any game that breaks out, okay? They can get back to running the ball, as is their custom, and they can do it in a very controlling manner outside the tackles or up the middle if that's there. They can play off that run game, and they can throw the ball around if that type of offense is necessary, especially once they get Ricky Pearsall back. Still a couple of weeks away from that. We'll get again into the Niner injury situation in just a minute. But once they get Ricky Pearsall back, whenever Brandon Ayuk does come back, when George Kittle gets integrated back into the passing game. Last night was the first night that George Kittle did not catch a pass in his entire career. He ain't going 2 games in a row or more without catching a pass. So to see that this Niner offense, it can be diverse, as I mentioned. I think they can play any type of football game that breaks out. And you have a young, hungry defense that's led by a defensive coordinator that is clearly considered to be one of the best in the business, right up there with Spagnuolo, right up there with Flores. Maybe not on the Vic Fangio level in Philly, but if Robert Saleh is your coordinator, you're a significantly better defense. The Niners are bruised, the Niners are battered, but what they are is they're gritty, they got guts, and I'm this is recency bias and all of that stuff, but I was very impressed the way that they handled business last night in the manner in which they did.
Yeah, I mean, you can't take a single thing away from them. I thought, as I said, Kyle Shanahan and that squad did a masterful job of prepping these guys and coaching these guys through this type of game. It was really impressive.
Yeah, for sure. So when you're talking about the Niners, yeah, you got to talk about injuries.
Yeah. It's what it is.
Because last night, great win for the Niners, right? I'm like, Bryce Huff, like, oh man, Bryce Huff, look at that dude, man. He's got 4 sacks on the season. He was outstanding last night, just, from beginning to end. Hey, man, it's not, it's not optimal by any stretch of the imagination that Bosa's not around, but damn it, man, that Bryce Huff, he's good. And Bryce Huff, he has a hamstring injury, and that will keep him out for at least a couple of weeks. A hamstring injury that Bryce Huff suffered, according to Kyle Shanahan, late in the game. Actually, last couple of plays, Bryce Huff.
It sucks when it's late in the game, dude. I mean, it sucks anytime, but when it's late in the game, it's just annoying.
Because it seems unavoidable, doesn't it? Yeah. So, if you're a Niner fan at this point, when it comes to injury news, you're 97% scar tissue if you're a Niner fan. You're like, of course, Bryce Huff has the best game as a Niner. Best he's looked, in a couple of years. Way better than he looked when he was in Philly last year. So, of course he gets injured. But it's not as severe as George Kittle's hamstring injury, which Kittle revealed was a tear. So maybe it will just be a couple of weeks for Bryce Huff. But as great as things seem for the Niners right now, not having your best edge rusher in Bryce Huff is a problem coming up against the Texans next week and the Giants in a couple of weeks. Renardo Green, although there is some good news when it comes to the Niner injury situation, he went out yesterday with a toe injury. Chase Lucas came in and did very well in Green's injury-related absence. Renardo Green does not have turf toe. That's good, but the turf toe that Brock Purdy does have, more than likely, will keep him out of the game coming up this week against the Texans. Kyle Shanahan said, I'm paraphrasing here, there basically is no change in Brock Purdy's status. He's progressing. Doesn't seem like he's ready to play just yet. And the same thing goes for Ricky Pearsall, that he's progressing, but his status has not changed. So things stay static with the Niners. They go out there, they bust their humps, they put forth a good effort, they win a game that a lot of people didn't think that they should win. They win it, and then they come out of it with injuries to significant people. That's just Niner football here in the third decade of the 21st century. That's just the way it happens.
Dude, I mean, this is completely off the subject, but did you see this dude kick this 70-yard field goal?
For who? For the Texans? Oh, for the Jags? Somebody kicked a 70-yard field goal? No way.
70-yard field goal.
I didn't hear about that. Really?
I'm like, wait a minute. Are we
in the London game?
We got dudes kicking 70-yard field goals now?
Well, you know why that is. Because the kicking balls, and now I don't want to get too nerdy about the kicking balls, but used to be footballs were footballs. Same football you played with, same football you kicked with. But kickers would get the footballs and they would massage them and make them easier to kick. No. Then they introduced the K-balls, which were basically footballs right out the box. Yep. Kickers didn't get a chance to massage them, didn't get a chance to work them in, didn't get a chance to make them easier to kick. Well, the NFL changed this year, and they've actually given kickers footballs that they can massage and manage and make more supple and make them easier to kick. And that's why, along with kickers just being better, that's why you're having more and more field goals. I have to say, however, I feel like I would have heard about somebody kicking a 70-yard field goal because that's a record. Are we sure about that?
A record.
No,
record. Let me make sure I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, I gotta say,
let me make sure I'm not going crazy.
If somebody kicked a 70-yard field goal,
I
kind of feel like I'd have heard about that.
70
because that's a record, dog.
Field goal.
I'm not quite sure.
Let me see.
I don't think so. No,
I don't see it.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I've unfortunately watched too much of that Jaguars Rams game that I thought was going to be good, and it wasn't because, well, I guess the Jaguars are still the Jaguars, and I didn't see a 70-yard field goal or hear about one.
I was watching a video. Dude kicked, and it was a Jaguars game. It sounded and looked like what they probably did was do some AI over.
I was about to say, sound like the AI monster
over the announcer's voice.
sound like the AI monster got you, brother.
It's gonna happen again, I promise you.
Don't fall for the AI monster. Gonna talk Warriors with our good friend Matt Kolsky coming up here in just a second. But let me get this Giants news. Out there. Credible reports over the weekend dropped the news that the next manager of your San Francisco Giants will be this man, 47-year-old Tony Vitello. The shock is not just because Vitello is not a known name. The shock is because Vitello, who you see here holding the national championship trophy after he led the Tennessee Volunteers to the 2024 College World Series national championship. The shocker is that Vitello has zero major league experience.
Yikes.
Zero. Okay.
Yikes.
Not only did Vitello not play in the majors or in the minors, he has not coached or managed in the majors or the minors. His experience comes from college baseball. Played baseball at Missouri, played very well. He's an infielder by trade. Spent some time at TCU in their baseball program, eventually went to Tennessee, completely and totally turned it around. And Tennessee won a national championship again in 2024. But Buster Posey, according to, again, very credible reports, national reporters and local reporters here like Andrew Baggerly of The Athletic, say that Buster Posey is smitten with Vitello. And I'm going to play a snippet of a video that came from a podcast that is done by what's my man who is on Fox, Greg Olson. He does a podcast talking to coaches about sports, particularly youth sports, and he had Vitello on. And this is something that Vitello said, and I find it interesting for a variety of reasons. So let me go ahead and drop that on you right now.
Drew Gilbert played for us a ways back, and now the world's kind of finding out who he is. I went and saw him play just to see him in a big league uniform and was able to speak to a GM, and we both talked. I think everyone's suffering the consequences all the way up to the big leagues where guys are super skilled, but there's less development, less coaching, less accountability, and therefore less understanding of how to actually play the game.
Less understanding of how to play the game to win. I cut the video off there. My apologies. Couple of things here. Drew Gilbert, for those of you who don't keep up with Giants baseball on a molecular level, Drew Gilbert might be a name that you remember. He was the one that brought a jolt of energy into the Giants clubhouse and the dugout. He was the guy that Matt Chapman would choke for fun. Remember that guy?
Oh yeah.
So obviously Drew Gilbert knows Vitello played at Tennessee. And to go back to the beginning of the video, when Vitello says that he went to see Drew Gilbert play for the San Francisco Giants at the time, he talked to a GM, and they had a discussion about how baseball is being coached, especially with youngsters, by the way. One can deduce, and you don't have to be Columbo to figure this out, that the GM he was talking to and also talking about in this snippet was clearly Buster Posey. So Buster Posey obviously liked his conversation with Botello. And the thing about Botello is, Mark, is that, people say he's very young and energetic, and that resonates with players, particularly young players. I do find a couple of things funny, that the baseball manager archetype pendulum, it continues to swing, and it's swinging for the Giants. A few years ago, and I'm not comparing Botello to now I'm blanking on his name, to the Giants manager a couple of years ago, before they fired him for Bob Melvin. Young, energetic manager. I'm completely blanking.
Jesus, what the hell was his name? Oh my God.
On his name. Somebody will tell me in the comments section.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Whatever his name was, it'll come to me in a second. Anyway, young, energetic manager. That didn't work out. So what did the Giants do? They went back to, thank you, Jay Stamps, Gabe Kapler. Let's give Jay.
That's
Stamps
right.
Yeah, Gabe Kapler. Out of sight, out of mind. Sure. Gabe Kapler, young, energetic manager, supposedly has a way with the clubhouse. That didn't work. So who did the Giants get on the other side of the manager archetype pendulum swing? The older veteran Bob Melvin. That didn't work. So the manager archetype pendulum swings back to Tony Vitello, young, energetic manager who supposedly will relate to the younger players. So the question here is, do people really trust Buster Posey? Because since he's gotten here, what have Giants fans said over and over? In Buster, we trust. In Buster, we trust. If it's good enough for Buster, then it's good enough for me, the Giants fan. I'm playing here for you on the show. Do you really trust Buster Posey? Do you trust him with this decision, seemingly to go with a guy who has zero major league experience? Do you think that doesn't matter? Do you think it matters? Or for some people, they're trusting in Marcus. Others, they are really, really, really having a problem doing something that has never been done in Major League Baseball, where a manager has had no major league experience as a manager, coach, or player to run one of 30 Major League Baseball teams.
I suppose you have to, at the very least, credit Buster Posey for taking a big, unorthodox swing. Yes. You always give people credit for that. At least, go out, with your boots on. But boy, I don't. Mm-hmm. This is a real life Ted Lasso. Like, just literally,
I never thought about that.
This dude. I mean, listen. Even Gabe Kapler had some experience. He managed before. Like,
he played.
Yeah, it's to me, it's a bigger swing and a bigger risk than the one that I would take, just because major leaguers, being the creatures that they are, and a young guy who's never played, never managed, never coached, none of it. I don't know, man.
I do think, and I subscribe to the theory that baseball is baseball. And especially now that analytics, even though the Giants are not a truly analytics-based team, but even though now with analytics being in the mix, not that these teams manage themselves, because you still have to make significant and important in-game decisions. You still have to make significant and important bullpen decisions. And Bob Melvin was not good at those last year in particular, in terms of in-game decisions, snap decisions, quick decisions, good decisions, and bullpen management. I do think, and to me, it's obvious, if Vitello is the guy for the job and he accepts, that him having a veteran bench coach next to him, having a veteran laden staff is going to be the order of the day. And even though we're talking different sports and the situations are a little different, I do liken this a bit to when Steve Kerr got the job with the Warriors. By the way, we're going to talk Warriors with our man Matt Kolsky. He's backstage in the green room. We'll get to the Warriors in a second after we finish this Giants discussion. But Steve Kerr, who obviously played, okay, but Steve Kerr had no head coaching experience. All right. He was general manager for the Suns, but that was it. Steve Kerr comes in. All right. What do? They make sure he has veteran coaches sitting right next to him. Alvin Gentry is the first one that pops into my mind. Ron Adams, his defensive coach, and he still actually does that.
And also, don't forget,
Terry Stotts is there with him now, even though they're somewhat contemporaries. Still having a guy that you can bounce things off of that has some experience in the game. I think it's going to be a situation where the Giants, if they do this Vitello move, it's going to be very, very, very similar to what the Warriors did with Steve Kerr.
Yeah, but even Steve Kerr, he had experience in the league
because he played. Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but not only that, he also learned at the foot of Phil Jackson and Greg Popovich.
Sure.
Those things they matter, dude. Yeah. Again, Buster Posey gonna look like a genius if this team gets off to a great start. Gonna look like a genius, but boy, it's gonna be a lot of second guessing if they get off to a slow start. I
think the main thing you said, the first thing you said is the main thing you said. Try something different. Mm-hmm. Okay. Baseball again, like I said, that's why I mentioned the manager archetype pendulum. That's been happening since the sun, since dinosaurs roamed the earth. Okay, all right, try something different, and if it doesn't work, all right, you took a swing at it. All right, Buster Posey, I think, because he is Buster Posey, is going to be given grace in that regard, unless this is a complete and total abject failure. But if it works, you're going to look pretty damn smart. And I think in terms of, again, baseball decisions, I think you can get a group of people around Vitello to make the right, smart baseball decisions. Can he connect with not the young players, because clearly he's going to connect with them, but can he connect with the dudes who have pelts on the wall? Devers is the first guy I think of. Chapman, Adames, these guys who have been around for a long time. If you first and foremost win, and if you say the right things, and if you put those guys in a position to win, they will ride and die with and for you. So that's going to be his biggest challenge. We shall see. This is I do applaud Posey for taking this somewhat wild swing, and
gotta admire the balls
at 100%.
I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it, because here's the other thing: is you have to look at what the baseline for this team is. It's got to be at least 500, and so if it's below that, or if it's 500 again, that is a failure.
Oh, if they regress, for sure,
that is a failure
for sure. There can be no regression. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. No regression at any point in time will be accepted, whether it's Vitello or whether it is
but here's the thing. It'll be particularly egregious, and it'll be particularly bad if it happens with this particular
100%. I will leave the discussion about the Giants in baseball with this, because managers, I still believe, are important. Mm-hmm. Managerial skill clearly is important. Managerial connection with the players, I believe, is important. Getting this hire right for the Giants is important. However, there's still a problem. There's still a massive problem that a managerial hire cannot fix. These are the payrolls.
Yeah, buddy.
Top teams in Major League Baseball. Okay. And I don't care if you dig up the corpse and reanimate the corpse of Casey Stengel. As long as the Dodgers have a $350 million payroll, and the Mets have a $350 million payroll, and the Phillies have a $290 million payroll, and the Yankees have a $305, as long as the Padres have a $216 million payroll, as long as the Blue Jays, who are going to the World Series to take on the moneyed and endowed Dodgers, as long as the Giants are competing with these teams, particularly the Dodgers and the Padres in their own division, and you see the majority of these high-spending clubs are National League teams. As long as the Giants are trying to compete with these teams with the payroll that is $178 million in change, the manager don't matter. Get a new manager. Try something different, but also try something different financially. Spend more money. Money doesn't buy everything in Major League Baseball. It doesn't make you a winner, but not spending money or not spending as much money as your direct competition 100% puts you at a disadvantage. And no manager and no wild swing at a manager is going to change a fundamental rule in baseball, which is if you got money, chances are you've got a winning team.
I actually don't understand why they're being outspent by so much.
Well,
Listen,
because they don't want to.
They're not as rich as the Dodgers and Mets, obviously, but they can still get up in that. What that $250 million range?
Hell yeah, they can.
They can do that.
Absolutely.
It's just weird. It's weird, dude.
No, it's the majority of baseball teams have the money, and the Giants are one of those teams that have money. But do they have that want to? Do the Johnsons, who are the principal owners, who are billionaires, by the way, do they have that want to? And they don't have that want to. Matter of fact, Greg Johnson said the quiet part out loud a couple of years ago, where he said, basically, we just want to break even. He said that out loud.
I mean,
in front of cameras, into a microphone.
Is that John Fisher or is...
No. John Fisher is just an idiot, cheap skinflint that demonized a team and an entire fan base because he wanted a new stadium. No, that's a completely different story.
Yeah,
the Giants know that they have a cash cow and they don't want to spend more money because they don't have to spend more money. So
it just always kills me when you have so much money that you can own a national sports franchise.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend money as if the goal is making money.
Yeah.
Like, that's not why you get these teams.
Let's switch over to the Golden State Warriors, who will start their 2025-2026 NBA campaign tomorrow. And apologies to our next guest as we made him wait long enough. And he's either he's got to put the kids to bed or he's got to go to bed pretty soon. But our good friend, our old friend, our man Matt Kolsky is nice enough to join us from his tastefully adorned basement. What's up, dog? How you doing?
What's up, Daddy-O?
I got some thoughts now on Buster Posey that I didn't have 13 minutes ago.
Sure.
Well, you know what? Don't keep him inside. Let him out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. First of all, I should say, importantly, I've watched none games of baseball in the entire season, and it feels great.
Well, let me just tell the people that Kolsky is a lapsed White Sox fan. So,
no, I'm on strike. I'm a striking White Sox fan. When the ownership transfer is complete, you'll find me back on the South Side.
Duly noted.
But listen, one thing that I feel like you guys didn't give Buster credit for is like nobody in that locker room has more pelts on the wall than Buster Posey.
That is true.
Facts.
And if he respects this guy enough to make him his first managerial hire as a general manager, I don't know, man. Who is Rafael Devers to disrespect a guy that Buster Posey stamps? So I don't know. It is crazy, but Buster's still Buster. By the way, I looked up Buster as you guys were talking. He's 38 years old, man. I mean, when did I become significantly older than baseball general managers? That's messed up.
Well, you know what, Kolsky, I actually agree with you. I think that's going to be enough to get him in the door with the players, and everybody's going to give you the benefit of the doubt. But again, if you get off to a slow start, they're going to be looking at you funny.
It's true. Yeah, that's right. That's right. No doubt.
Well, you know, so it's interesting that we go from the Giants going with a manager reportedly that is young and untested, and we get to the Golden State Warriors, who are with their starters, 4 out of their 5 starters anyway, are going a completely different route where they have decided to go, let's just go with all the old guys. The unction is in full effect for the Golden State Warriors. And
look at Jimmy.
The upcoming season.
That's so good.
The Warriors will be the first team in NBA history to start 4 players over the age of 35. Al Horford is the old head at 39. Steph's 37. Jimmy Butler's 36. And Draymond is he's the baby of the group. He's a spry 35-year-old. Clearly managing these guys and their minutes. That's going to be the order of the day. And this is all to get them and the rest of the team to April and May when you get to the playoffs. But there are some very, very, very skilled basketball players on this screen in this graphic. And while they might be up there in age, and while the Warriors are not the biggest team, clearly not the youngest team, you go on with those four guys on a semi-regular basis, you're doing pretty good in the Western Conference. That's going to be rough and tumble once again this year.
I love this team, and maybe it's because of the thing we were just talking about with Buster Posey, where I'm so much older than most athletes, but it feels like these guys are kind of contemporaries. At least Al Horford is. I can be a contemporary of Al Horford. Honestly, what this does, right? And it's kind of frustrating, but what this really does is it makes this entire season just about getting to not the end point, but the regular season end point.
Yes.
With people just like not held together by duct tape. And if you do that, I think you give yourself a puncher's chance against anybody. You put those four guys on the floor. By then, you certainly hope that a couple other guys have distinguished themselves over the course of the season, and there are plenty of options for that.
One guy in particular who I'm sure we'll talk about.
Well, there's that guy or whoever that guy gets traded for, but there's also Brandon Pajemski. There's also Moses Moody, right? Who knows? There's also Will Richard. Anything can happen in the NBA. And I was saying the other day, would you be shocked if Will Richard gets opening night start for this team?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't at all.
I mean, Steve Kerr loves to do that thing, right? Where he like
further. I wouldn't be shocked if he takes Pozinski's minutes.
Yeah. Let me just. Okay. I think
you took the breath out of Matt.
No, you didn't. I just want to say something about that because this has been on my mind. Yeah. That's not that's no crazier than me saying he might start on opening night, right? I mean, he's been really good, and we know what Steve Kerr likes, and Will Richard does all the things Steve Kerr likes really well. But I'm going to employ the Socratic method here. Brandon Pajemski, what do you feel like are the things we've heard the most about him since he arrived as a Warrior?
He's a connector. Rebounds.
I mean, as a guy, as a dude.
Competitive,
super competitive. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Scrappy.
Yeah. Super confident.
Wants to be a leader on this team. Yeah. He wants to be the guy out front.
Exactly.
One of the guys out front.
He says things like, I want to be somebody that these vets want to hand it off to, right? He fancies himself a centerpiece.
Yes.
He's going to be a restricted free agent.
Oh boy!
I don't want to do it again.
Wait a minute.
I can't have Will Richard taking Pajemski's minutes and then we're doing it again. All right. So I think there's an imagination for some reason, perhaps because he's been much more favored within the organization, and he certainly had an incredible rookie year. Mm-hmm. There's this idea that there's not going to be a problem when it comes to the Pajemski contract. And I think that's probably true. I think that's hopefully true. But I'll tell you this, if he spends more time on the bench this year than he wants to, and then he doesn't get the offer he wants or the extension he wants, or it doesn't look quite right to him, that's not a guy that's going to take it lying down. That's not Moses Moody you're getting ready to negotiate with, okay? Brandon Pajemski fancies himself a centerpiece. I'm just saying. I definitely don't want to talk about that disaster before it even happens, but it does scare me.
Yeah. Well, that's the NBA world we live in, where it's hard to enjoy the present because the future is always looming.
Damn, Kolsky.
I'm
it's
sorry.
really good point.
I apologize.
Well, no, because now that I'm thinking about it, if he's a restricted free agent, that's going to cost him money as well.
Well, I mean, I think it's still a year away.
Salary cap. Still,
right.
I mean, it's something we're going to have to think about. Salary cap wise, is this guy good enough, important enough for us to keep? That's a really good question.
Is he going to be? But I mean, and this is kind of that season for Pods anyway. Season 1, wow, we didn't expect that much from this little redhead as a rookie. Season 2, he started pretty rough, picked it up down the stretch, but in the playoffs was kind of here one night, gone the next. Preseason had that one incredible game and a couple of real stinkers. It's time that if Brandon Podziemski wants to be one of those centerpiece type guys moving forward, and I don't think anyone believes he'll be the best player on a really good team, but, top 3 or 4, there's got to be a level of consistency this year from him, right?
No, for sure. And to me, this is kind of the conversation you get into about Jonathan Kuminga. If you're having a good faith conversation about Jonathan Kuminga and you're not trying to push agendas,
right?
Or you don't have some crazy beef with a kid you don't know, that if you do the right things, if you do what Steve Kerr asks, which is mainly get the ball to Steph, or don't be an impediment to Steph getting the ball, and defend from the team concept and rebound, you are given, I think, the freedom and the latitude to grow your own game. But you're never going to get Podziemski figured that out. See, this is why I think that he is felt emboldened, because he figured it out pretty early. Okay, what do I need to do to keep getting minutes and to make sure that these vets trust me? I'm not going to get in Steph's way. I'm going to play hard, albeit, at times inconsistent because he is a young player, but I'm going to play hard. I'm not going to get in Steph's way, and I am going to give a representative effort defensively. When you show that, then you start to feel like, oh, okay, I fit. It's the same thing with Jordan Poole. Now, clearly he wasn't a defender or anything along those lines, but he did the job that he needed to do, within the framework of the Warriors, general get down on the court. And he was like, okay, I got this. And then it pissed a particular person off, and we all saw it go downhill. But my overarching point being is that, yes, this team is all about Steph, Jimmy, now Draymond, along with Steph forever, and now Al Horford. It's a veteran-laden team, but there's room for these young guys. Podziemski, Moody is another guy who I think has figured it out. He's had his ups and downs, but he's a guy that doesn't do any complaining. He plays the type of basketball he needs to play to keep getting minutes. And we'll get into the Kuminga discussion. I think this is the year he's starting to figure it out, because now you don't have to talk about contracts and money, anymore, or to the extent that we did last year. If you do what they want you to do, they being the vets and Steve Kerr, you will get the opportunity to at times be the man, which is very enticing to young players.
Yeah, I think for Kuminga, it's at a point of just, if I don't make my head coach angry, there is going to be so much opportunity for me. Even if it's not on a normal night, there's going to be so many rest nights. It will be shocking if none of those big three get injured at some point over the course of the season, and if any of them do, they will need Jonathan Kuminga to play major minutes. So I think he's realized that, and I would say there are two things. Look, some of the, and this is where I've criticized Steve Kerr over it. Some of the stuff I really just think, as a young player who hasn't figured things out yet and really can't without more playing time, and he's just going to make those defensive positioning mistakes. He's pretty good as a point of attack defender if you say go defend that guy.
Yes.
But he's going to have some space out moments on defense, and I don't even think he's totally in control of that. But the two things that he has always struggled with, one more than the other, that I do think he's in control of are, first of all, rebounding. He's just got to rebound. And put a pin in that, because I have an analogy that's going to make us all cringe to do with the rebounding that I think is interesting. But before that, the second thing is, I have believed. I watched a ton of Jonathan Kuminga with the G League Ignite, and I have always believed there is a dribbling playmaker within Jonathan Kuminga. But look, now I'm purely speculating and philosophizing about somebody's brain who I've never spoken directly to. But I have watched a guy that's looked so desperate to make impact plays that he hasn't done the easy, just by being athletic, move the ball up the floor, find the open guy. And he has done that so aggressively in the preseason, along with the rebounding thing. And this is where I'm going to make my bad analogy. Do you guys remember, this is a deep cut, but early in the career of the one and only Jordan Bell, there were criticisms of his rebounding effort.
Yes.
And right. And then all of a sudden he started just like making a scene about it. Like he was diving out of bounds and running into the stands and just like making a big show.
A lot of false hustle.
That's right.
False hustle.
And then somebody asked him about it, and he was like, well, yeah, it's kind of false hustle, but like this is how I'm getting myself to real hustle, is I am committed to the false hustle. It's not false hustle if I do it every time and I'm actually going for the ball. And there's a little bit of that, I think, to what Kuminga needs to be doing here. Is like, I don't actually think he is as bad a rebounder as the statistics would suggest. And I don't think his effort has been as poor as you'd imagine, saying, wow, look at that guy jump, and he only has 4.5 rebounds a game or whatever it is, right? But I do think if he just overdoes it for a month, first of all, he's going to average 8 rebounds a night minimum. Second of all, everyone's going to chill out a little bit. Like, that's really what this situation needs. Everybody,
including his coach.
That's
including his coach.
And quiet part is including his teammates.
Look,
they won't say it, but you know they feel it.
No, because nothing is happening here if Steph disagrees.
Exactly.
It's always important to remember anything that is happening with the Golden State Warriors is something that Stephen Curry has at least tacitly approved of.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Listen, I'm one of the people who thinks that rebounding is still effort, especially if you're a guy as athletic and as big as 6'8" as he is. You got to get at least 7 or 8. You got to get at least 7 or 8 a night. I just wholeheartedly believe that.
Well, and not only that,
your way into it.
It's positioning too, but that also takes effort. You know, it's just finding where that space is, like just taking that very quick split second to find where that space is and get yourself into that space, or beat your opponent to that space. Like that's the, you know, that mental effort is just as important as the physical effort. And at times with Kuminga is you will see that mental effort not be there, not out of laziness or whatever, but it'll just happen where that mental effort to get that rebound or to get in a position for that rebound is not there. And that's what drives coaches crazy, is when that mental effort is not as robust as it needs to be, or not as robust as the physical effort we know you clearly have because you are such a ridiculous physical specimen. You know, I think about that rebound that he watched drop in the Kings series. And that was the last time he saw the floor in that series.
That was ugly too, boy.
Remember that? And it was
ugly.
He watched it drop.
Was ugly.
And Steve Kerr's like, I'm not doing that. I do like the fact, because Steve Kerr's no dummy, and Kuminga has, to his great credit, has, I think, more than met Steve Kerr halfway with what he wants him to do. I love the way that Steve Kerr has talked about Jonathan Kuminga, now that the contract thing is somewhat settled and he's been in the mix, saying all the right things and being very, and rightfully, praiseworthy. You know, just get that shit out of the way and go play basketball. And nobody's talking about, well, you know, Steve Kerr said this, or he didn't say that, or look at his facial expression, or this, that, and the third.
I am so hopeful finally about this situation. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I want you, and now you tell me what you think. I think that one of the reasons that Kuminga is sort of turning it around this year, at least as far as we can tell. He didn't get the action that he thought he was going to get. The money wasn't there that he thought would be there, but more importantly, the demand for his services wasn't where he probably expected it to be.
But
you know what? Okay, let me go and get myself together, get back to the team, run this up another year or two, let everybody see how great I am, and then I can get my numbers up again.
I think you're right, but I think it's a combination of maybe there were some teams out there that didn't value Kuminga the way that his representation thought he should be valued. And I think also, and Matt, you speak to this much better than I can, because this kind of stuff just makes my eyes roll in the back of my head, that the what was it, the second apron, and all that money stuff that, you know, dumb guys like me who just want to watch basketball, we don't understand because numbers make me mad. But I think that was a part of the situation as well. If the financial structure of the NBA, for lack of a better way of putting it, was different, I think there, in my estimation, I think there would have been not a lot more action, but there would have been more action for Jonathan Kuminga's services.
Yeah,
it would have gone beyond how people view him as a basketball player.
So I tend to agree with that basic description, and frankly, like, I know a little more of the technical part of it, but why bother? But I tend to agree that the market, the situation of the market hurt the action this summer, and it only takes like two teams to be interested in a guy to suddenly drive the price up, right?
Right.
And there weren't even really two teams who had the available money to spend on him. So that kind of is what it is. But maybe more to the point, I think his agent would have sold that story to him, you know?
Yes.
So I don't think he is probably thinking of it as, oh man, nobody wanted me. He's probably thinking of it as, well, you know, I'm doing all right for the next year or two here. They seem to have some use for me, or at least use for my contract slot, and I got to make the best of it. But I also would just say, I don't feel like he's ever been that difficult about trying to do the things they want him to do. The reality of this situation for this kid is that he's brought in at 18, actually, one of the youngest draft picks of all time. And he comes into a situation where they are competing for championships, much to the surprise of everyone involved. And all they need him to do is a bunch of stuff he's never done at a high level in his whole life.
Yeah.
And every time they put him on the floor, they're like, do all these things we need you to do. And he's like, well, I've never done that, but I'll give it a shot, fellas. Oh crap, I messed up one time. Oh no, I'm on the bench again.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to what you were saying though about Steph. Just looking at it from an offensive point of view, because I think that it becomes an issue for Steph when he's, for lack of a better way of putting it, looking for his own shot offensively and Steph's on the court, or he's not in the right place for what they want to do offensively when Steph's on the court. And then Steve Kerr gets frustrated with him on the defensive rebounding side of the court.
Well, and real quick, Rod, I think it's not even just like looking for his own shot, because I think in the right situation, Steph can respect that. I think it's taking the shot.
I'm just kind of using that as a catch-all term, but
totally. But he had a habit of taking shots that just really killed momentum, or were really, really just poor decisions in the moment, beyond just like, because he is a guy that can score, right? And I don't think Steph would begrudge him his opportunities if he was making smarter decisions about it. And there's no
consistently
doubt that,
smarter decisions. Yeah,
exactly. I just think it's been a tough spot for a kid who's, being asked to make decisions at a higher level than he ever had to before. And if he screws it up, well, now he's messing with a championship contender's ability to compete,
I think he's really, guys, I think he's really going to flourish this year because the contract situation is, again, settled, even though there still could be, he could be traded or whatever if things go badly. But, as I said earlier, it's a really tough place to be in when you're a young player, because as great of a concept it is to play with Steph Curry and to play for the Golden State Warriors, it's a hard thing to do
Yep.
if you're not doing it correctly. But when it's done correctly, it's a place where a young guy or a non-superstar guy, just to use that term, it's a place where if you do the right things, you can go and you can flourish. And we've seen that over and over and over again. And I really think that this is it can be with the Warriors. It can be a difficult situation, but when it's done right, you as a young player, you can be nurtured within that system. And I think that Kuminga's going to, the nurturing is going to happen this year, or we're going to see the fruits of him being comfortable in his own basketball skin, being comfortable with his own contractual and financial situation, and being comfortable with his coach and Steph in particular, and the other, veteran players around him. I can see him playing smarter, not because he got more intelligent. I just think he's going to play smarter because he's going to play a lot freer because he doesn't have other shit to worry about. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Clear mind, clear head for at least 2 years, 24 million bucks in the bank every year. Yeah, that clears some minds.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also there's an element of like, people have seen what I can do scoring the basketball. If I want to have my best future, maybe I need to show some other things right now as well. And I think that benefits everybody in this situation, right?
And
because
listen,
whether they want to trade him or not, Rod, the best thing that can happen is he plays well, period.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the thing.
Facts.
If he plays well, he gives the Warriors something that only he can provide, which is ridiculous athleticism and a guy who is a real, putting Steph aside, all right? Steph's the dude.
Right.
A guy who is a real problem when he's dialed in offensively, like he was at times in that Minnesota series, when he was a problem, all right? And they were having issues with him. Other than Steph, he's the only guy that can be a true matchup nightmare for the Warriors. And for him to have that special skill set, if he can find a way to do the little stuff that keeps him on the floor, developing that skill set and having it is going to send a message through the league. And clearly there are teams that are better than the Warriors, all right? But I do think with the Warriors having a guy in Kuminga that you get him a bucket if he's in the right space, things are going great, and he's a guy who could develop into a tough cover because of his athleticism, because of his strength. Given the Warriors that, and maybe them being able to play off of it with the veteran guys that they have and the other young players that they're bringing along, I could see it working. I could clearly see it working in the positive for the vast majority of the season.
Those are all the reasons that always should have worked, right? Is that the level of athleticism that this guy brings is something nobody else on the team possesses. And the way I would say the thing that you were talking about there is like, they got guys who can score, right? Jimmy can certainly score.
Yep.
Hard work. It's not.
Yeah, it ain't easy.
It's not just rising above guys and mashing on their heads. Man, there was one preseason dunk. I thought he was going to kill somebody. So there's just something. It is something they need. And there always has been this sort of fit, but also, like, let's not kid ourselves. Steve Kerr hasn't been wrong about some of the clunkiness with the lack of shooting when you've got Draymond and Jimmy and you need to spread the floor. It's not fake. I've always thought he could have tried harder to mix Kuminga in, but it's not like the problems he has with the fit aren't real. So it's going to be fascinating. But whether it's, 15 minutes most nights and then 30 when Jimmy or Draymond sits, or whether it's 25 minutes a night regardless, like he's going to have plenty of chances to do all the things this year. There's no doubt about that. And I just finally feel like everybody's incentives are lining up in the same direction.
It's a great way to put it.
There have been so many competing incentives around this guy's career from the very beginning, whether it's him, it's Joe Lacob arguing with the GM who's arguing with the coach. It's like all these different people want different things for Jonathan Kuminga. Now I feel like, at least in the short term, everybody wants the same thing. He's got to be a part of this for the first few months of the season, and he's got to play well. That's what's important.
And I think he wants it as well.
Yeah, I would agree. And certainly, like, if preseason was any indication, it maybe it's the honeymoon phase or whatever, but it looked like a beautiful honeymoon.
Man.
The beach was nice. The sun was out the whole time. The booze was flowing. Like, stuff is good. It's a good honeymoon. Let's continue it right into the regular season.
Keep the party going.
I've always felt Kuminga could just fall into 15 to 18 points a game if he played the way Steve Kerr asked him to play.
Yes.
He doesn't have to hunt his shots. He would just fall into it.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think I understand why people criticize him for not. Sean Marion is the thing, right? Everybody, Kerr wants him to be Sean Marion, but I can also understand a kid who feels like he has the talent to be a top 10 player being like, yeah, okay, but if I do all the things you do and be Sean Marion right away, I kind of forego the opportunity to even try to be, I don't know, what the right Sean Kemp, somebody mentioned in the chat earlier, right?
Oh, that'd be great if he was Sean Kemp.
Oh my God.
He's not Sean Kemp, but his sights are set higher, and I understand that. Sean Marion didn't become that guy until he kind of flopped around for a few years, right? And realized he couldn't be the guy.
Yeah, for sure. Before we leave, do we want to throw some predictions out there in terms of what we see for the Warriors? And
boy,
to me, they're and all of this is based on them not dealing with any long-term or catastrophic injuries. But to me, as currently constructed, they're a playoff team in my regard, and not a play-in team, a playoff team. I'd see them in there in that 5 through 5, 6, 7 range. 5 is obviously on the high end, everything working great, and also some teams progressing or maybe not even disappointing in their campaigns this year. But if everything goes right for the Warriors, and again, we're asking a lot because we get 4 players over the age of 35. It's never been done. There's a reason for that. But if everything goes right, I could see them avoiding the play-in for sure and being that squad that you don't want to mess around with in the first round of the playoffs.
I only see Houston as a team that I would call obviously better than the Warriors right now.
OKC? What?
OKC is the other team. Denver, I don't see them as being obviously better. Minnesota, I don't see them as being obviously better. I think they're a top 4 or 5 team this year.
I thought
top 4.
So I'm gonna predict. I'm doing this Locked On Warriors. By the way, check me out, Locked On Warriors with
love it.
Charlie
Love the show. Love the show.
So I picked them 5th when we did our season preview. I thought I was going to be the guy on the edge saying I really think 4th is a reasonable thing to say, even 3rd if you want to get weird. But Marcus sort of jumped the gun on that, saying that he thinks they're better than Denver. So I don't know about that. To me, OKC and Denver are probably on a different level. Like Denver improved their bench. They pushed Oklahoma City last year, and they still have Jokic. And we saw what OKC did in the finals and just throughout the year.
And the Warriors haven't gotten any bigger.
No, they have not. That said, like
they've gotten better.
KD makes Houston terrifying because if you put
my team to beat.
You put KD on that Houston team that pushed the Warriors last season, and frankly, they kill the Warriors. Also, though, it's not quite the same Houston team, and most specifically, the Fred VanVleet injury, I think, is something they've got to figure out.
Yes.
So I think, after that, I understand why people would pick the Timberwolves ahead of the Warriors. That's what I ultimately did, but I don't think it's a big gap. I think they're younger. They're more likely to stay healthy. You know, Julius Randle's off the weed, which is apparently working great for everybody.
I don't know
But,
anyone whose performance improved when they stopped smoking weed.
well, did you see Durant responded? He was like, "Yeah, man, that's great. That's great for Julius. But personally, I'm a big fan of the plant."
Durant's like, that's more for me.
Yeah, that was Katie's take on it. Like, oh, congrats,
I don't have
Julius.
to smoke
Happy
Julius
extra.
out when he comes over to the crib.
Exactly. Oh man. Yeah, the NBA is Julius is really breaking trends in the NBA with that.
Yeah,
but no,
right,
I after that, right? The LA teams are just injuries either already happening or waiting to happen, and that doesn't mean they might not be in the 5-6 range, but I give the Warriors the edge on that.
Yep.
I just can't trust the Clippers. Give me a break. And LeBron is, already out for a little minute here. And then it's teams like the Spurs. I like what the Spurs are building.
They got a lot of talent.
Yeah, you make me pick a team for the next 6 years. I take the Spurs 100 times out of 100 over the Warriors, but I'm not. I'm picking just for this season right now.
Yep.
And it's a lot of really young guys, many of whom have never played together. So, you make me pick it, I'm going to say the Warriors got the edge over these teams. And it does feel weird, especially given where we were at on February, whatever the hell it was last year when they made the deal, right? But this is a deep team with 4 now surefire Hall of Famers at the top of it. There are some interesting question marks about the Warriors, but there's not a lot to laugh at. It is a pretty talented, deep roster.
No, I concur. I agree 100%.
100% correct.
Even with OKC last year, I felt like the Warriors played those guys very well. I didn't feel any team was a given over the Warriors last year. I really didn't think there was. All the top teams, they played them really well.
No,
and
I mean, now listen.
Got hurt, they had a shot.
They did. If Oklahoma City is fully healthy and you sort of get the marginal improvement, guys like Chet and J-Dub, and I mean, it's hard to picture how Shea gets much better, but
right,
that's pretty terrifying. And I don't know that anybody, much less the Warriors, has what it's going to take to deal with what the team can do at full strength. But I give the Warriors as good a chance to beat them in the playoffs as anybody if they are healthy.
Yeah, and that's what makes them dangerous. Yep, for sure. Brother, man, we always love catching up with you, and let's make this a regular thing as
please
we get into the NBA season and go through it. And go ahead and plug the Locked On again, my man.
Yeah, Charlie Walter is our main host, the MC of the Locked On Warriors station, and I'm on there. I'm going to be doing a lot of post-game shows this year, and I think the occasional other shows. So tomorrow night, after the game, instead of listening to whatever happened, I don't even know what happens after the opening night game on the TV anymore.
Yeah, I mean, the whole TV situation is completely different. I'm right there with you.
Changed.
I don't know what the hell
so forget that. Just to hop on YouTube, go to the Locked On Warriors channel, and we'll be there talking Dubs.
All right, brother. And like I said, man, let's do this on the regular, my friend. Best to the family, brother.
Thank you, sir. Same to you guys. And call me anytime. You know where to find me.
And it will be done. Love you, my man. We'll talk to you down the road.
Peace.
Lots of love. Bye, fellas.
All right, man. Make sure you follow Kolsky on Threads and IG, and definitely check him out. All those Locked On guys, they do a great job. Whether it's Locked On Warriors, Locked On Giants.
They're so much better than the last host.
Settle down. Settle down. If you're just joining us, first off, what have you been doing on a Monday night where you join us an hour and 15, 20 minutes into the show? World Series matchup is set. The Dodgers are going to take on the Mariners. And Marcus, to answer your question from earlier, yes, the Mariners are still the only team to never reach the World Series. And they were only a few outs away until George Springer, who has been a playoff performer extraordinaire for basically the entirety of his career, mostly with the Astros. George Springer, big 3-run home run to give the Blue Jays a late lead. They did not relinquish it. So the World Series starts on Friday. Let's do a couple of on this dates and the best thing I've seen today, so we can get out of here and I can continue to agonize over the Texans and the Seattle Seahawks. 5 minutes left to go. Seahawks 20, my Houston Texans 12. And oh, what a frustrating watch it has been. On this date, October the 20th, we're not going to go in true chronological order here. Let's start with music. On this date in 1989, the debut of 9 Inch Nails hit.
Oh.
Pretty Hate Machine.
Whoa.
Hit Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, Down in It. Don't consider myself to be a massive, by any stretch, massive 9 Inch Nails fan, but I remember hearing it when it first came out and being like, what is this? It was, and I still get that anytime I hear, especially early 9 Inch Nails, like Pretty Hate Machine, like the debut, just nothing like it before, and it still is just unique in its sound, man. I love bands, I love artists that are just singularly unique, and what Reznor does and has done with 9 Inch Nails, starting with Pretty Hate Machine back in 1989, it's just unique, man. Just wildly unique.
He's a unique thinker.
Yes.
The unique thing. He just people like him or like Beck, like people who just have just crazy things going on in their head.
Good call.
How did you manage to get that out of your head?
Yeah.
And record it?
Yeah. What else is going on in there?
He just come up with just the craziest stuff. Like, how do you think it is?
What else is going on in that head of yours? So on this date, all the way back in 1989, we got our first taste of 9 Inch Nails with their debut. It still holds up to this day. Pretty Hate Machine. On this date in 1996, we got one of the greatest coach rants of all time.
That second game, we got our ass kicked. Or the second half,
baby.
We just got our ass totally kicked. We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. The second half, we sucked. We couldn't stop the run. Every time they got the ball, they went down and got points. We got our ass totally kicked in the second half. That's what it boiled down to.
Oh.
It was a horse performance in the second half. Horse. I'm totally embarrassed and totally ashamed. Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in that second half. It sucked. It stunk.
Jim Mora's diddly.
Jim Mora's got a couple of them. He's got a couple of classics.
Oh yeah, no, I was just about to say he's the only coach that has multiple all-time rants. All right? You got Mike Singletary. I want winners. Dennis. Not Dennis Allen. Why am I blanking on names tonight?
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about. Dennis Green. Dennis Green. Thank you.
Dennis Green, yeah.
They are who they thought they were. We let them off the hook. I'm missing a few others, but Jim Mora with the diddly poo rant that happened on this date in 1996, and of course playoffs. We're just trying to win a game. The great Jim Mora giving us 2 all-time rants, and today it was the diddly poo rants on this date in 1996. 2 different rants with 2 different franchises. He was the Colts. He was the head coach of the Colts when he did the playoffs. He was the coach of the Saints in 96 when he dropped the diddly poo rant on us.
Playoffs.
We do squat. Playoffs. They're just trying to win a game. On this date in 2022, fortunes change for the San Francisco 49ers. This is the date that the Christian McCaffrey trade went through all the way back in 2023. The Niners gave the Panthers a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round pick.
Wow.
In 23, a 5th round pick in 2024 to the Carolina Panthers to Christian McCaffrey, who I would say Marcus has worked out well for the Niners.
He's earned his paper, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Still earning it with the performance we saw last night,
Show.
as we talked about earlier. Yeah, that Christian McCaffrey trade was a stunner, and it unlocked. Didn't get the Niners a Super Bowl, unfortunately, but boy, it was terrifying to see Kyle Shanahan's offense with a true dynamic running back that was a threat on the ground and in the passing game when McCaffrey hit with the Niners right at the beginning of this trade. He just looked borderline unstoppable. Quite frankly, he was borderline unstoppable.
Yeah. Facts. These are facts.
No.
Has not disappointed.
Nope, has not disappointed at all. So Christian McCaffrey's trade to the Niners happened on this date back in 2022. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up. We've done enough here on this Monday edition of Quality Hang.
Quality Hang.
There you go. Oh, you know what? We do need we need a vocal theme song.
Quality Hang.
Yeah, we need like an R&B theme song. We'll work on that. We'll get our massive Quality Hang staff on that. We finished the show with the best thing I've seen today, and I'm just going to present without comment a bear trying to get into a trash can.
Sweet.
There it is.
Where's the barking coming from?
There's a dog somewhere. Yeah, there you go. It's, I mean, that's the human equivalent of that is trying to open a pickle jar, and you just like, no, what the hell with it, I can't do it. So
and it's rare that they can't get into a trash can, Byron.
Yeah. So this is like a bear-proof trash can somewhere in Alaska. This bear trying and not succeeding in cracking open the trash can,
getting in the good round of 10 push-ups.
Oh yeah. No, he's getting a real good upper body workout. His chest, his delta area is getting swole, which is when he's just like, man, fuck this shit, I'm out of here. A bear attempting to and ultimately failing to get into a trash can. That's the best thing I've seen today. So
that's a great thing to see.
Thank you. Yes, you know me and animals in human spaces. You know, I'm a sucker for.
I'm not mad.
So
I enjoy myself.
When I saw that was the immediate best thing I've seen today. All right, we get out of here. We thank our presenting sponsor, the fine folks at Hop Monk Taverns, 3 locations to choose from: Sonoma, Sebastopol, and in Novato. Go check them out. Please do that. You will not be disappointed because the food is great. The craft beer selection is even greater, and I promise you, they're going to have something live entertainment-wise, concert-wise, open mic night, open mic comedy night. They're going to have something that tickles your entertainment bone. I don't know why you would have an entertainment bone, but follow me. It's been a late night. So follow them on all the socials and definitely check them out at hopmonk.com. All right, my brother. It's been a quality hang per usual, wouldn't you say?
Yes, indeed, man.
To all you folks in the chat, we sure do appreciate it. We love that you guys have created your own little ecosystem over there. We love the quality hangers. We love your support of what we do. We do it for you, and we could not and would not do it without you. And that is from the heart. So we will see you later on this week. And as always, be good and be good at it. We'll see you. Bye. All right, brother.